want to do a podcast. Every time we hear that, we're like, okay, well, good luck, because it takes a whole lot of work. All of the effort and the episodes and all the things that go into the consistency to even start to really garner the traction that we've been able to do.
The biggest thing that you miss when you're starting a podcast is putting in all that work, and you're not going to see results instantly. You're not going to see results for probably a long time, actually. How do you go about creating content that will get people to view? Like, we could probably start a brand new podcast today, whole new thing, and get views from the gate because of what we know. Think about creating content that people will want to watch and that catches people and that's interesting. If you don't, you're gonna see lots of months or years of no one watching. Also hook people, gather people, and like having the trifecta of what I've been doing with the thumbnail, the title, and the hook. Within the first few seconds of any video, it needs to deliver on what the title is saying. So say we have this title here, we have a whole episode. Like, if we just started out with welcome back to CS Business Podcast, we're not delivering on that promise. So having a hook there at the beginning that explains and reinforces the title, but also having a thumbnail has a quick, like, eye-catching thing that will pull people's attention from the screen.
Welcome back to the COS Business Podcast, the number one podcast in Colorado Springs.
Today, our highlighted sponsor is Proud American Electrical and Solar.
That's correct. But first and foremost, man, like, let's talk about some new things like going on with the show. We've had some new sponsors come on. We've had some new spikes in some recent episodes as well. Do you want to speak a little bit to that, since you're kind of the guy that handles the YouTube side of things, and that's been the one that's been seeing the real big action on viewership?
Yeah, well, we've also had a lot of big action on viewership with Facebook as well too.
Yeah,
it's been crazy, like, seeing how much things are growing in different ways. But it's interesting with YouTube specifically, the exponential impact that we're having. Shout out to Exponential Impact, one of our sponsors, where we were filming this place at. But it's truly been exponential with the growth. It took 4.2 years for us to hit 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. A lot of that was us pushing the shorts. So that came with strategy of doing shorts. That really helped us get to that 1,000 threshold. And then literally 8 months after that, another 1,000 added on to that. And then the next 1,000 was in 3 weeks. And then almost 2,000 within 1 week right after that. And then right now we've just been hitting like a steady 1,000 a week, maybe even a little more. Actually, it's been a week or two since I've even looked at it. So
yeah, I was trying to remember where we're at. I think we're at like 7,000 or 8,000 at this point.
8.5 thousand. It's probably 9 by the time we're recording this, actually, to be honest. Yeah. But I looked earlier because I have to switch my accounts a lot, and it shows me the subscriber number. But yeah, it's going, hitting some pretty good growth, and that includes, like, our episodes are reaching more people. Where, I don't know, it's people are tuning in longer, so that's cool too.
Well, it's kind of interesting too, because we had Levi Harris, his episode was spiking in the past several months, right? High Five Plumbing.
Though the past year, it's had a steady flow of organic traffic.
And then lo and behold, we had Brandon Newfer with Awesome Home Services, very similar industry, right? And then boom, his just takes off.
Not only similar industry, similar color scheme.
Vibe.
Yeah, it's got
culture.
A vibe. Yeah,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So it's crazy to look at that. I mean, I think his episode's at like 14,000 views. So that's really been a huge one. And then the one right after that with Jen Peterson with Slay Social with Jen was also a freaking another huge episode. So that was awesome to see some of these episodes just really start to take off and garner some real viewership, some real likes, comments, and all that stuff too. Has been really cool to see.
We're going to take a quick break to thank our sponsors. Home Day. Buying a home shouldn't be overwhelming. Home Day empowers you to save on your mortgage by putting you in control of the process. Lower your cost and take the next step towards home ownership with ease. Visit gethomeday.com today.
Fast Signs. From banners to vehicle wraps, Fast Signs delivers custom visual solutions to help your business stand out. Their team ensures your message is clear, bold, and effective. Get your signage needed handled at fastsigns.com. That's fastsigns.com.
Lowry Veterans Law.
That's perfect. Lowry Veterans Law is a nationwide veterans disability firm based in Colorado. Their VA-accredited attorneys specialize in TDIU unemployability, PTSD, and secondary service connection claims.
They work on contingency, no upfront fees, so they only get paid when you need.
If the VA hasn't given you the rating you deserve, get a free case evaluation at LowryVeteransLaw.com or call 719-895-6979. Epic Eyewear. Stylish, affordable, and designed for adventure, Epic Eyewear has the sunglass and eyewear you need to see life more clearly. From the mountains to the beach, protect your eyes with high-quality frames and lenses. Check out their collection at epiceyewear.com. And by the way, Andrew, we do have a special discount, COSBP15, for 15% off, I believe. Cars Helping Charities.
Turn your unused cars into a meaningful contribution with Cars Helping Charities. They make it easy to donate your vehicle to support local causes. One of the local charities that we like to support on behalf of Cars Helping Charities, actually, and part of their sponsorship is Matters. And check them out too.
They're awesome. They are a tiny house community for veterans suffering with PTSD. They have a property out in Yoder, Colorado, and then they also have one in Sedalia, Colorado as well.
Donate today and make a difference. Visit carshelpingcharities.org. That's carshelpingcharities.org.
Dream Accounting Solutions.
Take the stress out of managing your books with Dream Accounting Solutions. They provide reliable expert accounting services tailored to small businesses. Simplify your finances at dreamaccountingsolutions.com. That's dreamaccountingsolutions.com.
Exponential Impact. Exponential Impact is driving innovation and entrepreneurial success in Colorado Springs. Supporting startups with mentorship, funding, and community resources, they help businesses grow and thrive. Learn more about their impact at exponentialimpact.com. That's exponentialimpact.com.
And now let's get back to the show. Yeah, a lot of times it's cool to see too, because we'll see comments from the people's family of the guest family will comment on there, and it's cool to see. It's like usually those episodes that have family members commenting on them, they typically tend to do well. It's maybe that's a sign of something. Maybe that can be extrapolated. Maybe there's some qualitative measurements we can do there, but but no, it's really cool to see because it's consistency, but also improving over time, but also maintaining our quality control has been top priority the last year, I think, too. That goes with the strategy of creating episodes that people want to watch, but also hook people, gather people, and like having the trifecta of what I've been doing with the thumbnail, the title, and the hook at the beginning. The first few seconds, within the first few seconds of any video, it needs to deliver on what the title is saying. So say we have this title here, we have a whole episode. Like if we just started out with welcome back to CS Business Podcast, we're not delivering on that promise. So having a hook there at the beginning that explains and reinforces the title, but also having a thumbnail that like has a quick like eye-catching thing that will pull people's attention from the screen, because you have the whole, like the way it all works with YouTube is just a fun puzzle that I've liked to solve for the last 10 years, to be honest.
Yeah.
And it's like, I feel like you can know these things, but putting them in practice and constantly evaluating and improving, seeing what works and do more of that. And like all of that stuff. Cause I've been putting a clickbaity title in the thumbnail caption most of the time.
Right.
And sometimes I try to keep the main title. It's like, I wasn't synchronizing all of that perfectly. And then noticing something with Brandon's episode, I think really allowed me to synchronize all three of those elements. Because a lot of the times I would have the clickbaity thumbnail with the caption and the thumbnail that's clickbaity, but the actual title wasn't super clickbaity. It might have had some like, and by clickbaity, I have to clarify that too. It's like, there's bad clickbait and there's real clickbait. Clickbait should be, good clickbait should deliver on the promise. Bad clickbait get you to click, and then they're trying to scam you into something else.
Right, something
like
that's
bait and switch.
Completely not relevant to what the heck you actually clicked on.
Not click bait and switch, but click bait.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's huge, and I think synchronizing all those elements is only going to help us moving forward, because it's interesting, because it's like I knew all these things, but putting them in the practice is a whole nother story.
Yeah, for sure. Well, one of the craziest things to think about is like anybody who ever comes up to us, which there's a lot of people who come up to us is like, I want to do a podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And we're almost like, every time we hear that, we're like, okay, well, good luck, because it takes a whole lot of work.
Oh, yeah.
One, for all the equipment to even make a production at the level that we do, but two, like all of the effort and the episodes and all the things that go into the consistency to even start to really garner the traction that we've been able to do, which is why we always welcome people to jump into this space, because we know how hard it is, and it's kind of a rite of passage when you've been doing a certain amount of episodes. I mean, we're in 260 something episodes at this point, so it's insane to even think about. What piece of advice would you give to somebody who's like, hey, like I want to start a podcast? Like, what's some of the, like, I guess the cautionary pieces of wisdom you'd give them, you know, when they're starting it? Because you have to be real with them, right?
Yeah. And I'm glad you asked that, because that's exactly what I was thinking about talking about anyway. I think that I'm glad you served that question up perfectly, because what I was thinking while you were talking there was the biggest thing that you miss, like when you're starting a podcast, is not only all the work that goes into it, but putting in all that work, and you're not going to see results instantly. You're not going to see results for probably a long time, actually.
Yeah.
And so that's the cautionary thing I would say, is like, you got to continue to do it, even though you're getting gut punched every single time, it feels like, because like, especially when you're putting in all that work, and like, just be aware that you may even put in all that work and be consistent with it, but you're probably still not going to get that many views, if any at all, you know? It's like, how do you go about creating content that will get people to view? Like, if we started off with that, like we could probably start a brand new podcast today, whole new thing, and get views from the gate, you know, like because of what we know. So it's like, there's an interesting aspect of that. So maybe that's what I would say is think about creating content that people will want to watch and that catches people and that's interesting, because if you don't, you're going to see lots of months or years of no one watching.
Yeah, well, some of our favorite folks have like spent years. Like think about Joe Rogan. He started in 2009. Like when did he actually start getting some real viewership?
Yeah, well, that's the interesting. He talks about that. He said he remembered when he had 10 views on things. But the thing with Rogan is when he started his podcast, he already was a public figure.
Exactly. So that's a great point.
That probably helped him out a little bit, but he still wasn't getting, like, this is the perspective aspect of it, because 1,000 views to him right now currently would feel like he probably is failing. Right. And for us right now, that's pretty good.
Well, he's also got paid a lot of money to bring views now at this point too.
Exactly. Yeah. And you know, it makes me think, you know, it's like, what have some of these big channels done to get their channels where they're at, you know? Like,
right. Oh yeah. Because there's a lot of different tactics. I mean, one of our favorite ones we like to watch or listen to is Diary of a CEO. And like, there's a lot of different things that we take from that, because it's such a brilliantly put show, and the way that he lays it out. Stephen Bartlett, right? Who lays it out. And he has like a team of 30 something people, I think 50
actually. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is insane. But like, if you watch his, and
he started in his closet though.
Well, so did Theo Vaughn, which is hilarious. What the heck? And so did Alex Ramosi, actually, I think. No, it's kind of weird. But like all these guys, and like seeing their methodology, like, especially like a Stephen Bartlett, like he lays it out like so well, especially when you talk about like the hook, and like the fact that like his first question, he's like pausing for a certain amount of time, and then he asks the question.
First question is so powerful. He doesn't jump in with "How are you doing?" or he doesn't jump in with "How things been," which is something that I default to a lot, and I want to jump. I actually was listening to Stephen Bartlett earlier today, and I was like, he, not only on top of all that production that you were saying, him as an interviewer is like Barbara Walters level. Like,
yeah, he's probably my favorite.
Yeah,
like as far as an interviewer is concerned, he's that good, outstanding. And like you said, it's like that first question is like something that's really thought provoking, or even I mean, for a long time he had like a good streak of like making all of his guests cry. It was actually like an ongoing thing, right?
Yeah. He was good at that. And this is the interesting dichotomy of things, though, because here you have Stephen Bartlett with all this high production on one hand, and then you have Joe Rogan, who starts out with "How are you doing?" Right. A lot of the times it's a very casual, easy question going into it, and it's like long conversations, no editing, no hook, no nothing. Like, but it's interesting because Stephen Bartlett also, he's on the UK's equivalent of Shark Tank. He just stepped down, actually, and he stepped down from Huel because there's some controversy going on or something. I don't know. Don't know too much about that, but I know that he was literally like Kevin or Mark Cuban.
Kevin O'Leary.
Yeah, Kevin O'Leary or Mark Cuban on our Shark Tank. The equivalent in the UK. He was one of the Lions Den. Yeah.
Well, that's where Shark Tank came from, is the Lions Den originally.
I thought it was vice versa.
No, I think it was originally over there, and then it came over here.
Because Canada has like a Dragons version too, as well too.
I think it actually started from Canada. Actually, I think Kevin O'Leary is part of the original starting squad.
Edgar, pull up a fact.
He's one too.
Yeah.
Folks who can't see at home.
See, as we improve the quality and do things like that, maybe one day we'll get Edgar to pull up things.
But you know what's interesting about what you're talking about, though? I think that like Stephen Bartlett is like the best interviewer out there, period. But I think that Rogan, he is an interviewer, but he's a conversationalist. He's like the best friend that you'd have like a glass of whiskey with or whatever, and just like shoot the shit and go into like the deepest things.
Well, his curiosity.
In your mind, because he's so curious. And so he does the dance, he does the flow. Like that's Rogan for you. And then like Steven is just like so prepared. His preparation is like second to none.
Yeah.
And he's so dialed in on his research, and it's really cool to see like where we're going in the podcast space. How much influence it has, you know?
One of his guests is Simon Sinek. There's a quote on the wall over here in Exponential Impact here. But with what Simon Sinek talks about in one of his first books, and I think his big TED talk that he had a long time ago.
Oh yeah.
He talks about being an early adopter. Rogan had the luxury of being an early adopter. I don't think if Stephen Bartlett came out the gate today acting like Joe Rogan, it would have worked. He needed to have all that extra stuff. Like it just, even with his Lion's Den thing, like, or Dragon, I don't know which one it is, but even with that, he probably needed to have that extra quality. And there's like, he has guests on, you know, there's like half of his guests I'm not even interested in listening to, but it's those ones that stick out that are just really good. You can expect the quality that you're going to get when you hit play on that video. You know, you're going to have something that's like very good quality and very tailored to provide value, I think.
Yeah, no, for sure. I wanted to rewind a little bit because we had a really cool thing that happened back in November, and this is kind of our recap of catching up one-on-one, but we did a gala for Mattersville. So a lot of folks at home who know Drew with Mattersville, he comes on the show almost yearly at this point. He's been on 3 times already. We did a gala for him. You did the video, and then I spoke at it.
Yeah.
Which again, anybody who at home who doesn't know Mattersville, it's like a tiny house community for veterans struggling from PTSD. And they have a lot of different programs. One of them is Pack 22, which is on Andrew's phone right there, which is like the wolf dogs that are there. And like they have over 100 wolf dogs in kennels, and like the veterans help take care of the animals. And it's called Pack Healing. That's kind of like the trademark that they've done with that program. And it's just so cool to see. So like even when we did the gala, it was in Black Forest, there was wolf dogs there, and they were howling and barking and all that stuff. But you got to do the video and tell the story of a veteran whose his name was also named Paul, which
two veterans actually.
2 veterans, correct, Jen as well, right? And it was just really cool. So talk a little bit more about that, because it was a really cool project. Like you were definitely like crunched on time to deliver on this thing, and then kind of the experience of the gala. It was really cool because at the festival, it's cool at the festival, but I felt like this was more of an intimate kind of thing this past gala, because it was indoors and everybody, there was a microphone. You had undivided attention.
This is their first one. First
yes,
gala.
correct. Yeah. So this was their first gala. Not the
they
first
had
time.
to do the gala because you stopped doing the tiny house.
Yeah.
festival.
So like not the first time that we did the awards is what I meant. Yeah.
It was by necessity though. And it's interesting the impact we all have on each other's lives. Like literally you not doing the festival required them to start doing a gala.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, most definitely. Talk a little bit about that though in the video. Yeah,
that was
as well.
That was an interesting one. So excited that Drew reached out to me. I was super pumped to be a part of that. We got to go to the different locations and film as much as possible. The hard part about that for me though is because in the middle of that, my dog died while on the way home from coming back from filming, and like I brought her there with me because I knew she just something felt wrong. I was like I think it was like the week before she had done something that was peculiar, and something felt like I can't leave her at the house all day because I'm going literally to what's the city?
Sedalia.
Sedalia. And I'll be there all day, and like she can't be at the house all day by herself. And I brought her there with me, and on the drive back home, she started having some symptoms, and she passed away that night. And so it's like I still had all of my editing ahead of me after that, and we needed to get it done in like a couple of weeks. And it was just kind of rough to me, to be honest. And it sucks that the memory of that is attached to that, because I can't think about that without thinking about Marsha. So yeah, it's interesting too, because, you know, it's like, there's a lot of wolf dogs there. It's like, yeah. So it's like, it's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Marsha's death has actually hit me recently in the last few weeks, not today or this week, but like in a way that it didn't hit me. Before.
It's probably because the dust is settled. And,
yeah, I think so too. Yeah.
anybody that knows me I knew I had DJ, and like I can only speak for what DJ meant for me, but like I felt like I was always Superman with anything going on in my life. I had people pass away in my life, best friends, family members, everything like that. And I felt like I can get through it, but like I think my dog was definitely my security blanket. So when I lost him, it was like I had no sense of security anymore. And it was one of the strangest things in the world, because I mean, Marsha, just like DJ, like moved with you all these places, experienced all these things with you. Maybe the things that people don't get to see sides of you, she was there for. And all she wanted was like, there's something so selfless and so amazing about a dog specifically, because all they care about is you, and they love you. And it's just like this affectionate love that's just amazing. And so it was really hard. It was a little bit different, obviously, with DJ, because it was kind of a slow burn. We knew he was going to die. We didn't know when, but you know, they told us 2 weeks. He ended up going 2.5 months. But it was challenging.
He had that sickness, so you knew for sure.
Yeah, and that was really hard.
You know, like a dog that's is over 10 years old, you can kind of have a gut feeling like, oh, things are probably can take a turn any time. You know, I knew like the past year, like something could be bad. And she had been showing symptoms, but like symptoms of just being old, essentially. But like,
yeah, she came over to my place like, gosh, was it the month of that she passed? And it was just so awesome. I loved Marsha. She was like, you know, I can't really be too close to too many dogs. I just felt like I haven't been able to the past 2 years, but she was one of the ones I could be, because she reminded me of DJ because of how lovely she was to you.
Yeah, she was.
And she was just, I mean, I loved that dog. You took her when she could to Palmer Park. And she just lived a super happy life with you, man. So I'm super proud of you. And I know it's hard, you know, like especially being home and you live alone, like you have roommates, of course, but like you live, that's your main squeeze, man. So I wanted to. It's
not too hard coming back to the home, you know. Sometimes it's just random times, you know, that it's like, oh yeah. for the first few weeks, obviously you have your routines, and when that's not there, you know, it's you're constantly reminded. But for the most part, it's been not too hard, I think, you know, like, because you know it's life, you know, like you got to understand that. And you know, it's like as we get mature, we understand how to deal with those emotions. But you know, there are the hard times, you know. It's like, but the thing is like it doesn't have to last forever, and it shouldn't actually, because that would be just shitty if you live the rest of your life miserable just because someone died. Like,
yeah, it's a hard truth about life, right? Yeah, for sure. Well, then we did the gala, and the gala, obviously, that's canines are a big part of that program and stuff, and it was just so cool. Because I think it was one of the first things we did once we all sat down and ate was watch the video.
Oh,
you were telling these,
that was good.
You know, you were filming.
It's a 20-minute video too.
Yeah, it's a 20-minute video. Like you went down the wire, getting it clipped and edited and everything too, and ended up turning out so great. And you got to highlight 2 veterans specifically out of there.
Yeah.
And the light that they deserve, and it was just so cool, man, to see that. It was awesome.
Yeah. Working with Paul and everything. Paul actually got to meet Marsha beforehand too. Yeah. So it's like it was really cool, you know, understanding his story, where he was coming from. It's like, this is a veteran, and he's talking about this publicly. So I think we can say this, you know, it's like he attempted to take his life. You know, he put a bullet in his head, through his head,
right?
And it's pretty intense, you know, and like to hear his story and hear him go through that, and like to see him get to Mattersville and, you know, work the program. And I think things have been working out pretty good, you know. It's like from what I can tell, it's been a healing process for him. And like, the video's out online, you know. I think it's actually still on my personal YouTube channel, which was supposed to be unlisted, just for them to stream. So if you hear this, Drew, upload it to your channel.
So it's not Andrew's.
I don't mind it being on my channel. I mean, but it's not relevant. Well, it is, but I mean, it's more relevant in the right place.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm so thankful for that. Obviously, a lot of folks at home know my story about Paul, my best friend Paul, who passed away. It's one of those hard hitting things when you care so much about somebody, you know, that they're slipping away into this kind of isolation, depression. There's nothing you can do about it. And you go back and forth and you feel like you saved them, and it's years go by and you feel like things are going good. And then it kind of goes back and forth. And then eventually the worst happens. That's kind of part of my story of like 10 years of just like being with this person, loving them. First guy I ever told I loved that wasn't, you know, a family member. Right. But same thing for him back to me. And for that to be like the end was just like, it was almost like inevitable. Like there's nothing I could have done. And it was just like felt like I lost like a battle of some sort with him. And so that's why it was such a very deep seated thing in my life, because it wasn't just like in those last few months, it was like years over a decade, maybe even more. Even when we were younger, there was issues with mental health, and just like seeing the other side of that and feeling like you lost or you had some guilt and had to go through that for a long, long time.
People push people away when they're in that,
Yeah, he pushed me away for a year and a half. I got mad at him because I was supposed to go to he was supposed to go to my graduation for college. He didn't come. I got really upset with him. And then like 6 months before he passed away, I saw him. We all met up as a group of friends at a bar, and he told me, he's like, I have really bad PTSD. I can't even get in my car to drive to Colorado Springs from Fort Collins because he's living in Fort Collins. He's like, I tried to with my dogs in the car with me. I just couldn't do it. And that was like it was amazing that we kind of made amends like right at the end there. But I've never really told people that. It's like we actually had amends at the very end, right before everything happened. It was kind of slow burning of like, okay, did we become friends close again? Or it was kind of in that stage. And so it's just, I think it drives me a lot because I'm really loving and I love hard with my friends. And it's because of situations like that. It's like I lost the one that I was fighting the hardest for and that happened, So it's important to us that you make a video like that. So I know it's important to Drew. He's dedicated his life to that mission. So it's really cool, man. Like it has a deep impact when you make a video like that because everybody's watching and they have their own perspective of what they're taking from that. And it's super cool, man. So I was really proud of you for sure.
Yeah, I think there's some good clips we can definitely clip out of that. So I need to talk to Drew about that because I haven't yet.
Yeah.
We talked about it beforehand, but you just reminded me because you know just as well as me from doing this podcast, clips are important because they bring viewers to the main content, and like and also sometimes they just bring light to certain key moments in that video that wouldn't have wouldn't have been seen or reached as much people if it wasn't clipped. It's like says like, yes, it sucks that social media is such a hustle, but it's also flipping amazing that we have that as something we can do if we want to, if we know how, if we have those skills, we can utilize our skills, like me utilizing my skills to make the video. And like that was, it was an honor to be a part of that for sure.
We'd like to take a quick break and thank our sponsors. Proud American Electrical and Solar.
Give Proud American Electrical and Solar a call today for all your electrical and solar needs. They are locally owned and operated business right here in Colorado Springs. If you're looking for information on solar, this is the company you will want to call. Check out their website at proudamericansolar.com. Use promo code COSBusiness for a 5% discount today.
Awesome Home Services. Awesome Home Services delivers top-notch HVAC solutions for your home. Whether you need heating, cooling, or system maintenance, they ensure your comfort year-round. Visit awesomeservice.com for your HVAC needs. That's awesomeservice.com.
Mike Schoening Legal Shield.
So you're out here living your best life and suddenly legal drama slides in your DMs. Major L, right?
Bruh, hard pass. That's why you need Legal Shield. They're like the GOAT of legal protection.
Business contracts covered. Traffic tickets, no sweat. 3 a.m. legal emergency, they're up like, say less.
Hit up the link and get Legal Shield now.
Protect your energy, secure the bag, and stay drama-free, period.
Visit mscheoeng.legalshieldassociate.com.
Planet Duct.
Planet Duct is the #1 choice for professional air duct cleaning in Colorado Springs and Southern Colorado. With state-of-the-art equipment and top-tier service, they make sure the air in your home or business is clean and allergen-free. Breathe easier with Planet Duct. Learn more at planetduct.com.
Franchise Succeed. Looking to invest in a franchise or grow your current one? The experts at Franchise Succeed help you navigate the world of franchising with proven strategies and guidance. Whether you're a first-time owner or scaling a franchise empire, they're here to help. Visit franchisesucceed.com to get started. That's franchisesucceed.com. Pinnacle Advanced Primary Care.
Pinnacle Advanced Primary Care offers affordable, accessible healthcare with a focus on you. They provide exceptional primary care without the hassle of insurance barriers. Experience a patient-centered approach. Learn more at pinnacleapc.com.
Celebrity DJ. Make your next event unforgettable with Celebrity DJ. From weddings to corporate events, they deliver energy and entertainment that keeps the party going. Visit celebrity-dj.com to book your DJ today. Storybook Destinations.
Turn your dream vacation into a reality with Storybook Destinations. They specialize in creating custom travel experiences from Disney vacations to bucket list adventures. Start planning today at StorybookDestinations.com. That's storybookdestinations.com.
And now let's get back to the show. Yeah. Well, you brought up a good point too about social media. Not to change gears too much, but I think it was a really cool point that like Edgar was talking to me about this last week about like, do you think social media has been good or bad for society overall? And I was like, in my opinion, definitely a net good.
Yeah.
Because I feel like the exchange of information has never been like it was ever since social media took off. And so.
But it's like asking do you think the printing press was good or bad?
Right. And I think a lot of people oftentimes like think of it as a negative thing. Like even when I find my family or my parents are like, well, I'm not on it too much because I feel like they have a negative connotation of like, at the end of the day, like the algorithm is going to mirror what you're interested in. And so like, if you're interested in all this crazy fire and, gloom and doom, it's going to show you more of it. But if like it literally reflects what you're interested in. I remember one time when I was taking over the podcast YouTube channel and it was like all this AI and like graphic design stuff and video animation stuff. I'm like, oh, it's freaking Andrew's channel.
Well, now it's got like Pokemon stuff, StarCraft stuff.
Right.
It's still got a lot of those elements in there.
But like I said, like it's just, again, it's just.
And then now it has lo-fi hip hop music.
I saw that.
Because of you.
Yeah, I worked with lo-fi focused music, by the way. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, guys, like think of it that way because it's so true. Like you could definitely train your algorithm for your interests. And you can train like what you condition like your consumption of information to be.
This is the slippery slope there though. Because yes, it is trained on your algorithm, but it's also trained on the majority of people too. Like I do not give a crap about the halftime show and it's only on my feed on Facebook right now. And I could not get rid of it if I wanted to, because that's what everyone's talking about.
Yeah, I was gonna say, isn't that the element of interestingness about platform though? It's like you might not be interested at all, but you follow my stuff because we relate to a lot of stuff, but I might be super interested in the halftime show and I might post about it. And then you're like, I'm getting blown up with crap I don't want to get blown up with just because me and Marcus engage with each other a lot.
And that's the platforms too, though. Like Facebook specifically will be highlighting what is the most popular topic at the moment. That's going to happen every single week. You're going to be inundated with that popular moment. But on YouTube, no Super Time, no Super Bowl. Like my YouTube has no Super Bowl stuff at all. Like, cause I don't like it's not trained. It's not designed for like what's the popular consensus. It's designed for specifically you. And it's really tailored to that intentionally because that is YouTube's bread and butter. Albeit my Vima Visuals YouTube channel, I was studying football the last week. And so my Vima Visuals channel, when I go on there, it's got a lot of Super Bowl time stuff.
Why were you studying football?
Well, I found out about Tom Landry. You know that guy?
Yes. I'm a Cowboys fan.
I know. And how he got fired by that one guy,
Jerry Jones,
who bought the team. And then they, as soon as, like, it wasn't that Tom Landry actually holds a record for having a like the most, like, he has some good records too, but it is ironic though when he fired him. He's a good CEO, that Jerry Jones guy. Even though he was in the weeds, because the coach that he hired right after that, they won two or three Super Bowls, and because of a dispute, he fired him. But he's such a good CEO, he hired another person. They were back in the Super Bowl again.
So the end of that story, which Edgar is going to get like cracking up about, is that the Cowboys have like the worst streak since they fired that second coach, Jimmy Johnson. They had one more with Barry Swisser. After that.
In 95, they went back, right?
But then they have not even been to the NFC champ. So not even the Super Bowl, but the game before that, the NFC championship, they have not been back there in 30 years.
Okay.
And they vow that because of Jerry Jones firing Jimmy Johnson, who arguably probably would have gotten 3, 4, 5 Super Bowls.
The thing about Jerry Jones, though, this the right name?
Yeah.
Okay, so he did something for football as a whole, I think. His marketing,
he made a blockbuster.
Yeah, football wasn't even no one cared about football before him. Like
well, they cared about it, but it wasn't like global.
Yeah,
like the Dallas Cowboys are the most valuable team in the world.
Yeah, great at branding, great at marketing,
over the $10 billion mark for that football team. It's unbelievable. So like that's kind of what people get mad at him about, is like, you're an excellent marketer, you know how to make money, but do you actually care about winning? So that's kind of like his big shtick for the past few years.
Well, he made the Cowboys dynasty that the Chiefs are currently experiencing right now. You know, like that's what they call it. Like when a team gets in the Super Bowl and wins a lot of Super Bowls, they call it a dynasty, is what I was learning, or something like that. And now the Chiefs have entered in their own dynasty. And so it's like, he was the first one to really do like, obviously he cares
about winning. He's a pioneer for sure. Yeah, it's an interesting thing, and Edgar can talk a lot about it. I mean, I'm not a historian on the NFL, But the Cowboy fans, notoriously since the 90s, when they were dubbed America's team, have always thought that they're the best of the best.
Well, that was marketing actually by Jerry Jones.
Exactly. Well, here's an interesting fact. So that guy, Jimmy Johnson, who he fired, they go way back. They were roommates in college. And I mean, they had a bunch of different things. Like Jimmy Johnson won a national championship when he was a college coach, and then he went to the NFL and did that with the Dallas Cowboys. It's just like, he's a winner too. So Jimmy Johnson, Jerry Jones, very similar names, roommates in college. One ends up buying the Dallas Cowboys for pretty much every penny that he had. He shouldn't have had no business buying like team at that point. Put everything on the line, which is a cool, incredible story for what he's built. And then you got Jimmy Johnson, who came in with him under him, who was, again, his roommate. So they were like this, and then ended up winning all these. And so there's a whole bunch of craziness of what happened and why they won those. And there was a thing called the trade and all these different like little things that happen, tactical things that happen. But you're right. At the end of the day, like the Dallas Cowboys, I mean, I'm a huge fan of football. I'm a huge Cowboys fan, obviously. So I know all about that marketing, right? Like how to.
Well, he brought it to the whole NFL, in a lot of ways. Obviously there's still the history of the NFL, but like he really helped out in a lot of ways, I think. And here's some other fun NFL facts of the day. Quiz, or put up a ticker or whatever. The Chiefs were in the first Super Bowl. As the Chiefs, it was the first Super Bowl didn't happen until they went from being the Texans to the Chiefs in Kansas City.
Against Green Bay?
It was against Green Bay, yeah. Right. And then they lost that one, but then they won the fourth Super Bowl. The Chiefs were back in the Super Bowl for the fourth one, won the fourth Super Bowl, and then didn't win again until 2019. So
there you go. Maybe a bigger drought than Dallas Cowboys. There you go.
Yeah. And then before that, I was studying even deeper. And I even gave Edgar a fact he didn't know about. I was like, did you hear about your boys? Like he says all the time.
The Eagles?
He said, who? And I was like, the Steagles. In 1942, they merged with the Steelers as a sign of unity for the World War II, because 1942, World War II. And and they merged as a sign of unity, and they were the Steagles that entire year.
Oh, that's freaking funny. So that's before the NFL though.
That was the I think the NFL was the first one, not the AFL, right?
So NFL is the actual league. They're having their 60th Super Bowl next year. So they've only been around 60 years. And then before that, it was, I think it was like American Football League.
That's AFL, yeah.
Yeah, I guess you're right. So yeah. So
there was a few leagues that got kind of squandered and stuff like that. And like, it was really cool to see the history. Anyways.
Oh yeah.
We're really literally talking, what do they call that? There's a literal phrase for this.
Well, you got football. Me ADD on this because we're talking football. And I love it.
No, it's literally, we're armchair. No, that would be talking about games and stuff. But how about them Chiefs though this weekend?
My gosh. So just so everybody knows at home before we move on, I mean, Andrew's from Kansas City. Yeah. He's a Chiefs fan. And then Edgar, behind the camera, is a huge Eagles fan. He's got even the Eagles tattoo on his forearm. He's got the Super Bowls, so he's got to get another one. Congratulations to the Eagles.
If he would have accepted an offer in our chat, I would have to be getting an Eagles tattoo on my ass, but he never accepted the offer. So
that's true. This is true. This is straight facts.
Yeah, so I don't have to do that.
My gosh. This is very true. I love how we got off of Mattersville and started talking about the NFL and then tattooing on your ass just to finish that conversation.
There you go.
So I have an update for you. We have a couple updates, especially around Colorado Springs. It's Widener Apartment Homes just recently bought fully the whole sole ownership of the Colorado Springs Switchbacks. So it used to be owned by the Reagan family, which Nick was a colleague of mine for some time, and they owned it and brought it to Colorado Springs. So there was no second tier professional soccer league anywhere in Colorado. That the Reagan family had an option between bringing it to Northern Colorado or Southern Colorado. And then, so they decided on Southern Colorado, and then they opened up originally out east off Powers. And then I think 5 or 6 years ago, they opened it downtown, which when you came here, it was like probably getting built or it was already built. It was
not built yet. They didn't even have that cool little circle sculpture.
Yeah.
Chrome sculpture. Looks like a planet. I remember I drove my stepdad down there when he was in town. He was like, whoa, that's cool.
Oh yeah, it is pretty cool. And so like they were part of course migrating over there. When I learned, I guess Widener Field. So they already were involved. They helped bring it there to that stadium. The Wideners did. And so now they're the new owners, and the Reagans are going to be slowly trickling out with their ownership, helping out with wherever they can to kind of transfer the powers a little bit. And then we have new ownership. But Widener Apartment Homes next door to the stadium is obviously owned by the same folks too. So they're going to own that little block, which is kind of cool. and they just won the championship, the national championship. So some cool big things going on in the Springs. I found out earlier too that the sole owner of Widener, or one of the owners, is from Colorado Springs. So a local who owns a tier 2 professional soccer team and those apartments has this whole thing. So a lot of cool things going on here, man. Along with Ford Amphitheater, obviously with JW. We'll have him on later this year, which is going to be freaking cool. We have a lot of questions to ask him, but some cool things since you've been moving here, obviously happening.
They didn't even have the visitor center on top of Pikes Peak when I first got here.
They did, but it wasn't as cool as it was.
They didn't.
So they've always had a visitor center, yeah.
Oh, it was actually when I got here. The reason thanks for filling that gap, because I didn't know that. When I got here, I went up there. One of the first things I did, the road was closed off. So they must have been building the new one. So
gotcha.
I just thought they didn't have one.
So they've always had one. It was not anything too special.
Yeah, you couldn't see it from. I can see it from my house.
Well,
I can
this
see
one
the
is
new
insane.
one from my house. Yeah.
And have you been to the new one?
Not yet. I actually want to go back up there because every time I say, if you're feeling down or depressed in life, go up Pikes Peak, look off the mountain. It will invigorate you. And I haven't done that, and I need to follow my own advice because it's a really awesome thing. The thing is, I need new brakes on my car, and going down that mountain the whole time, it really, even if you have new brakes, your brakes can like keyed up. I don't know if you've experienced that.
Yeah, so they make you every time we hiked it. So our friend Kim picked us up from the hike and drove us down, and they made us wait 45 minutes because she let on the brake too much.
Yeah,
and they're too hot. So they're like, there's a stop in between halfway, and they're like, yeah, you got to take a break. So we have to take it. There's another rest stop at the midway point going down the mountain too.
And they got $20 chocolate bars probably in that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the new clubhouse is amazing. Like the restrooms, the gift shop, the huge cafeteria, the freaking 2-story glass overlook, along with the patio deck overlook. It's just like insane now. Makes me super proud being from here and seeing all the different cool things going on here. We also, for our little company party for the TOS Business Podcast, we went to Hotel Polaris, which is the little North Gate entrance to the Air Force Academy.
They're hiring by now, by the way.
Oh, interesting.
I know everyone that's hiring right now because I'm job hunting.
Tell people about that though, like Hotel Polaris. It was freaking cool. Yeah. It was a really cool.
Well, it was dark, but but they have like this great overview where they're at. But Polaris is the North Star. That's what that means, and it lines up with everything they're doing,
Right.
It's just they got like a cool bar on the up top. They've got a really cool, tall, skinny dude that talks to you. And
we were snooping around and just looking at different like suites that they had at the hotel. And some guy caught us, but instead of like saying get out, he like hung out with us. We were watching football from this one of the suites that had an open door, remember? And he was cool. Tall, skinny guy. I don't remember his name. We should remember your name. We'll find out your name again because you're pretty cool.
I'm going to say Tom.
Yeah, I don't think so, but yeah.
It's like a Tom.
Yeah, man. But there's so much cool stuff. I mean, Ford Amphitheater, we have to go take you to that too. That was freaking cool.
I still got to go, yes.
Sweets. We'll figure that out.
We've never even done the incline yet together. And I love doing the incline.
Let's do it, man.
I kind of love doing the incline.
I've been doing the stair stepper like every day, so I'm ready.
Yeah, you're stair stepping now.
Yeah. So recently, another update is I started getting vertigo, which is a crazy thing to have. So I haven't been running for the first time in 15 years, and so I've been doing the stair stepper, which has actually been really nice. I've been able to get a lot of my bearings back when I'm tired. That's when the vertigo would hit really bad, and it's been fine. Like I've been like perfectly fine. I did 200 floors for the first time since actually the night I had vertigo. I did 200 floors, but first time since then I did it yesterday and it was fine. I did good. So getting back to some of my crazy cardio goals I had before. Life's interesting, man. In your 30s is crazy for sure. Like there's this random shit that happens and pops off and you're just like, I didn't do anything. And then this happens, Yeah. I was pulling out of a parking spot.
So far. So
yeah,
so far. But did you ever talk to Steve Wheat about that? Cause I wonder what his experience was.
I've talked to a lot of people who've had it now.
Okay,
though,
nice.
Which is kind of weird. Everybody that I brought up to 1 in 3 is like, oh yeah, I have that. I'm like, whoa, I didn't know anybody like that many people had it. I mean, Stephanie, Danielle's sister, I think has the exact same one I have. Mine's like positional in where I like tilts my head or things like that, or if I'm in a grocery store looking around.
Can you check that camera real quick?
It'll go off.
I'm just fucking with you.
Here we go.
No, I actually did need you to check it though. But it was perfect segue. Yeah, it's better.
This guy over here. This freaking guy.
You said it. It's like the farthest you could turn it. Anyways.
This freaking guy. But yeah, man, it's been really cool. I mean, even since the last time we did this, there's been a lot of great like new things in our town that we can be proud of. pot. So I was reading up on this, right? So we did there was something on the ballot in November
that got passed,
which was an interesting thing because I think it was like the final nail in the coffin for Colorado Springs to not have recreational marijuana like ever. If it did get like
interesting,
fully taken off, that was like the full
Yeah.
like nail in the coffin. Never in the Springs for
Yeah.
foreseeable future kind of ballot
And
initiative.
for anyone that may not know, you come to Colorado, you think it's the first state to ever legalize weed. You come to Colorado Springs specifically, if you want to get weed, you find out quickly they don't sell weed here recreationally. It's illegal to sell weed as a business recreationally. And so if you're a tourist going to Pikes Peak, you find yourself going to either Manitou or Pueblo or somewhere in Denver. And if you go to Manitou, the prices are insane. Like it's a tourist trap. Like they know that they have leverage because this is a very touristy city and it's literally 1 block away from like Colorado Springs. And so it's like, it's something you learn quickly if you're someone who likes to consume marijuana. You learn quickly that it's not recreational here in Colorado Springs, which is interesting. It's just one little county, doesn't have, I think it's just the city actually, not even the county, because isn't Pueblo El Paso?
That's a great question. I'm not sure I think it might be just Pueblo County for El Paso or for Pueblo. Pueblo might be Pueblo County, I think.
Okay, yeah.
But that's a great question.
Edgar, when you look that up?
I'm not sure. I know. Okay, so here's the initiative that was it says in November 2024, voters approved question 300 permitting recreational marijuana sales in the city. Subsequently, the city council proposed a repeal measure for April 2025 ballot, citing voter confusion rather. On February 10th, 2025, which is I think yesterday, right? A judge ruled this repeal effort unconstitutional, stating that such measure could only appear on general election ballots during even-numbered years. Interesting. Implications of this ruling and the future of recreational marijuana sales in Colorado Springs. That's a statement, not necessarily a full sentence there. So yeah, interesting.
Do you know why? Do you have any inkling why recreation's not allowed here?
Yeah, it's so El Paso County in general is a lot more of a conservative county.
Mm-hmm.
Colorado Springs used to be the
We're
10th most conservative.
We're the red dot in
city
the
in
blue
America.
state.
Oh yeah, like so is Northern Colorado though too.
Vice versa of Austin. Like we're like Austin, but in reverse.
Right. Oh, 100%. Yeah, for sure. And a lot of Colorado is red. Colorado Springs is red. Northern Colorado is red. I think most of the Western Slope might be red too.
So it's just Denver, the biggest.
Denver
player.
and Boulder.
Yeah, okay. Oh yeah. Well,
are
yeah.
very, very
I
blue.
consider Boulder Denver, and I know that's probably not a popular opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, it kind of is. But yeah, it's super interesting. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. It's kind of interesting here because like everybody's already made their life of like, okay, well, I know if I want it, I know where to get it. 40-minute drive there, 30-minute drive here, or whatever. You have access to it. So
yeah, you can still get it. So it's like, it's interesting because what that does actually, there's actually people who sell weed illegally in Colorado Springs still. Like, I was, when I first moved here, living out of a hotel for the first 3 months because I was working on the military base and that was our get up. That's what we did. That's as storm chasers. You usually set up in a hotel for a few months. And someone was trying to sell me weed. I was like, they said, do you want to buy some weed? And I was like, I could just go to the store. It didn't make sense to me, but it makes sense now because you got to go somewhere else. You got to go outside of Colorado Springs. So I bet there's people probably still in Pueblo or Denver too that sell weed illegally. But yeah, what it does is it makes the black market even stronger here. Like I don't know. Would you rather be able to? I don't know. There's so much issues that come with black markets. We learned that in the prohibition. I don't know why we're still going through it with marijuana. Like
yeah, there's a lot of people vehemently against marijuana here, and I think it's just a lack of understanding. Like I haven't smoked weed in 13 years. That's crazy, but like it was by far the least amount of like dangerous thing I've ever put in my body as far as. And I haven't done anything crazy, but like alcohol, for instance, is a way worse kind of drug as opposed to marijuana. Marijuana, what are you gonna like? You never heard anybody like assaulting somebody on marijuana. Like if anything, they're gonna hang out and just relax.
Except it was unless it was propaganda, which was what Reefer Madness was.
Exactly.
And like it's interesting because just one generation before us, almost everyone had an idea about marijuana that was bad. Besides the people that were partaking in it, and they probably even thought it was bad too. They just didn't care. Like people smoke cigarettes and they know it's bad. Like
right.
But like yeah, I think our generation is the first generation, like millennials, to experience, like a different perspective that was pushed by marijuana activists, the National Organization of Marijuana Legal Reform. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I remember I followed them on MySpace.
Oh my God.
Because I was a young stoner. And to be honest, I wish, like, now that because it's legal, we have so many studies. We have so much more information that we didn't have before because it was illegal and they couldn't do those studies. And I honestly wish I didn't smoke during my teens because there's actual good evidence where it messes up your ability to produce the chemicals. It messes up your mood regulation, your
brain development, right?
Yeah, brain development in a lot of ways, but specifically with your ability to mood regulate. And there's good studies that have evidence that if you smoked heavily in your teens, it can actually permanently impair you the rest of your life.
Right.
And an impairment is whatever, it's like ADHD is an impairment in some ways too, but like it's not a terrible impairment, but it's still an impairment nonetheless. So it's like, I wish I wouldn't have smoked so much as a teen, but that wouldn't have stopped me because it was literally illegal when I was a teen. So like, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, like if there was a restriction there or like a high bar to get to it, you found it anyways. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's true. Have you seen the studies on creatine? Like it's one of the most studied drugs. Say what?
With depression specifically?
Well, shoot, yeah. I mean, there's so many positive things from creatine, right? Is that what you're talking about? That it could help fight?
I think
against
there's
depression?
a link specifically with creatine and depression. I don't know too much about it though, so I can't talk.
Oh,
about
like
it.
an actual link of you taking creatine and then getting more depressed?
Cure.
Oh, cure
like
depression.
Help.
Yeah,
not cure, but help. Yeah.
It's like a nootropic. So, I mean, there's so many amazing I mean, that's what I did when I was younger. I haven't done it since I was like a teenager.
But I mean, it's what weightlifters use.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have it naturally in like your steaks and a lot of your like high fat proteins. So you already have creatine naturally in like animal meats. But it helps again with brain function, actually with recovery. And then of course, like to gain a little bit of size and put a little bit of size on you, it puts a lot more water in your body. So like if you ever see people with like bigger arms and maybe not necessarily a lot of definition, that's usually a clear sign of like a creatine kind of intake for a person. So that's why I got
when they look thick, like thick,
kind of thicker,
thick, strong.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why I got thicker, strong. I didn't necessarily get like a lot of definition when I was younger. I think a lot of it's attributed to creatine, but there's so many. It's one of the most studied drugs that's been out there, and it's been so many cool studies that have come from it, especially as a nootropic, like good for your brain function and cognitivity. And a lot of people have replaced coffee because they're just going to take creatine, and if they exercise and they use it in the right ways, it's a great thing for you to use. So I'm going to bring it back into my diet for the first time in like at least 15 years. So I'm excited.
Why'd you stop?
Just because back then, especially, there's a lot of negative connotations towards it. Especially like I was talking about like the water weight versus like getting, I wanted to get more definition back then. But yeah, I'm definitely going back on. There's a lot of things I'm definitely going like putting back into my supplemental diet. Actually listening to Gary Brecka. I think he's a freaking G. And the things that he brings up, he's a human biologist, and he has brought so many crazy things to the table as far as like why we have anxiety, gut health, all these different things are also caused by our intake of food and all these different types of labels and what fortified means, enriched means. These are all bad terms for your food, by the way.
Oh yeah.
And the fact that a lot of
folic acid is one thing he talks about.
100%, and the fact that we can't go through the is it called methylated folation process? I don't want to mess that up too much, but essentially we're not able to convert our food into the properties that they're supposed to be now, just because of all the crap we've eaten as Americans. And so he talks about that and like what you can do now to supplement for your deficiencies, not just supplement, but supplement actually for your deficiencies.
Yeah.
And so he brings up methylfolate as one of those and supplements.
Not being able to methylate, I think is the right word. I was studying specifically a lot of that, what he was talking about. And like some people have a specific gene that doesn't allow them. It's called the motherfucker gene.
Yeah.
Fuck, I gotta cut that out.
MTHFR or something gene, which is literally
it's just it's just the letters, and you can call it the
abbreviation.
Yeah. And that gene specifically, which I want to get tested for because I think I have it where I can't basically like process B vitamins or things unless they're already like broken down a little bit, which is methylated. So you can get like the cyanocobalamin is what he talks about, which is the folate stuff and which is the B vitamins.
Right.
The cyanocobalamin is the one that's created specifically. This is something he brought up to me that I learned from Gary Brecka. That's literally the cyan part comes from cyanide, and they're creating B vitamins from cyanide. Although it's like been tested and like it's all this stuff, but there's literally other things we could use. It's the reason they have that, and like basically any B vitamins you buy in the store is most likely going to be cyanocobalamin because it's cheap to make. And so it's still the legit thing, but you can get methylcobalamin, which I actually make sure when I get energy drinks, it says methylcobalamin, not cyanocobalamin, yeah.
Yeah, which is crazy. So a methylated multivitamin is essentially what he says, like kind of across the board with it. And essentially that process what he's talking about, it's like the same process that you use for like crude oil to gasoline. You can't just put crude oil in your car and drive your car. It has to go through a conversion period to become, gasoline, right? And that's what we're talking about here is like we're not able to have that function. And most of us, I think it's like 40% of people now, at least in the US that he's talking about, are not able to have that conversion
so
process.
They're deficient in it.
Right.
A little bit there.
And it's absolutely insane. So a lot of people thinking that they have whatever it might be, thyroid issues, which is like huge. Like it's so prevalent in women. Like every woman in my family has thyroid issues. It could be caused by something like this, and they're deficient in that. And you're like,
what if it's just our diet, dude? Like,
what's it called? That crazy popular lexothiotherapin, something like that folks use for thyroid. All of them take it. It essentially tries to function as a thyroid for you, but it's not that. It's deficiencies. And so it's just so crazy to look at all that and all that new information coming out there.
Can I add something to that too about deficiencies and something that I learned recently studying like the effects of alcohol in your body? Like not only is it a poison and all that stuff, but it literally, and this has been a big insight for me when it comes to alcohol, is that it literally stops your body from being able to absorb nutrients. So it's not. So it's the same story. Deficiency. It leads to deficiency. So not only is alcohol poisonous when it's in your bloodstream and in your brain, which is bad and like bad for your liver and like causes all that stuff, but it literally it prevents your body from being able to absorb nutrients correctly. Obviously, you still absorb them, but that's huge. Like that's insane.
Right.
So it's like, talk about deficiencies. A lot of us are drinking every day,
Right.
Like it's a very common thing for Americans to have an alcoholic beverage after work. Like I would say probably the majority of Americans do that. I don't know. But it's
I would say
it's normalized.
I would say that's true.
It's so normalized and so common. And it's like, we know it's bad in a lot of ways, but I don't think we know just how bad it is. And maybe we do. I don't know. But that was a huge insight for me because I've studied the negative effects of alcohol for several years now. That was something I just learned like 3 months ago. It was insane. Like prevents your body from absorbing the right nutrients that your brain needs to produce the right chemicals that everything else needs to function. So it's like, that's where a lot of it, I think it comes from. So not just the food that we're eating, but also alcohol too. So it's like, this is the slippery slope though, right? Like,
we talk about that with me too, of like, I was drinking only like when I stopped drinking a year and a half ago. It's crazy to think it was that long ago.
Yeah, man, that's insane.
Because I used to drink with Andrew Negger all the time, like at least on the weekends, just to hang out and relax and chill. And like it was usually at my house, and like we have whiskey and all that stuff. I loved whiskey, I loved wine. And to be honest with you, like it didn't have that many negative effects on me. It really didn't. Like I didn't get. Well,
it's insidious.
Hangovers.
That's the thing. Is alcohol is insidious, and the definition of insidious is slowly over time.
100%.
Harmful.
So this is what I'm talking about. Is like I would be drinking once or twice a week, but I would have long-term effects of fuzziness for 3, 4, 5 days after drinking once. I'm like, here I am only drinking. I think I'm doing a good job drinking once or twice a week, but then I'm fuzzy until like Thursday into the next week. I'm like, what the heck? Like I have a little bit of slur in the way that I talk.
Do you still get fuzzy now though?
No.
Okay.
No, like if I were to compare it to a percentage, like say before,
what is fuzzy?
It would be like 30% of the time I would have a hard time like going back and forth really quickly in a conversation.
Okay.
Or like getting up in the morning and just being like on it. Cause I'm a morning person.
Yeah.
My mind is racing a million miles an hour in the morning. And then at night I can go to bed really because my brain just turns off at night. But in the morning I wake up and I'm like I'm almost like talking through my last end of my dreams and sleep, like into the morning. So I like carried it on. So I'm like dreaming about something. I'm like, oh yeah, I gotta do this, I gotta do that. And then I wake up, I'm like, oh, and I'm like so energized. But when I was drinking, I didn't dream first and foremost. I had like no dreams for like a long time. And then I was just fuzzy. And I noticed it when I was doing business meetings. I had to be like a person who had to curate a conversation. And I just couldn't be on point like I normally was. I just couldn't be on point like I was.
How do you know what normally was if you were always drinking?
Because there were stints when I stopped. In 2020, I stopped for a year.
Okay, yeah, nice.
And I was like, oh my gosh. And then there was a lot of other things like quality of sleep, 100%, like dreams, sleeping through the night, all those different things for sure. And then as you saw, like I lost, or at least I told you, I hold weight pretty well, but I lost like 15 pounds the first 2 months I was
I don't think you've picked it back up, have you?
No. No. Yeah.
We haven't tried to, by the way. So,
Oh, I tried to.
Oh, you have? Oh,
when I had vertigo, I had to eat like 5 square meals again. So I gained some weight and then I lost it again. But yeah, it's just insane to look at alcohol in that way because it's such a cultural narrative in the US and Europe, all these places, even in Asia, for us to drink. It's part of like our
literally
whole
every
cultures.
human, like there's literally one country where it's illegal. I think it's Dubai.
Yeah.
You literally illegal to drink alcohol. But like pretty much every culture has that. And it's interesting that you say about the dream stuff because I have such incredible dreams all the time. Like I notice if I quit smoking weed, my dreams get just more intense. Like they get crazy. Like the things
More
that
lucid.
happen, more. I don't even know what lucid means.
Like lucid dreaming, like you realize it's like super vivid. And even it's so vivid and stuff, and you're so cognitively there. You can even. Do you remember like sometimes?
I think so. Yeah.
You remember like you notice you're dreaming sometimes too. Like when I was
that's
sober,
what I thought
actually,
lucid dreaming was where you notice you're in your dream and you're aware without, because there's a balance there where it's like as soon as you become aware, usually you wake up instantly. So it's like balancing how to stay. Like if you want to be like an avid lucid dreamer, balancing how to stay in that. But yeah, it's interesting because I had the most amazing dreams last night, and I drank and smoked yesterday.
Everybody's different though.
Yeah.
Like, and especially with alcohol, that's what I was saying. Like,
But they do kick up when I quit smoking though. Like they get more intense is what I'm saying.
oh, they do.
I actually had some really cool dreams. I don't really want to talk about them though. Yeah, so
We'll leave that to after hours, behind the scenes.
Yeah,
kind of stuff.
It was some awesome dreams, but for me, it's I don't know. I know that I haven't quit long enough to be able to A/B test it for myself. But the thing is I don't need that because I already know that it would be better based off of everyone else's testimonies. I already
of quitting.
Yeah, of quitting. So it's like I don't need to compare it to like if I had a year of quitting or if I had like a few years of quitting or whatever, because I already know it would be better and beneficial. I already know that in my heart, but I prefer to still drink. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Well, I do know why in a lot of ways, because life's hard and life's, and it's easy to dismiss, the future to feel better now. Yeah.
I definitely am very lucky. I don't have any, whatever reason, like for folks at home, like I was an avid heavy drinker for a long time in my life. And a lot of it had to do with the people I hung out with, and not any dig on any of them. We were young, having fun, just going out, and we go out 5-6 days a week and have fun. I think there is a time and place for that. I think I have no regrets, and I'm actually glad I did do that because I learned a lot of different things about life doing that. Right. But it's interesting because like the past several years I didn't even know about people who, if they didn't drink, I felt like they were a 1 in 100 kind of person. Like, oh my gosh, you don't drink? That's insane. But like we have so many friends in our close group of friends who don't drink at all. And it's just accumulated. I would say probably now about 6 out of 10 friends don't drink of my friends now. Never would have thought that. Never. But also as you get older, people change and there's a whole movement of sober curiosity going on right now, which is cool. And then you hear stories of like the people who are like sober now and like some of the things that they had to go through when they were drinking and how it like, I mean, we had Johnny Joy on here and Michelle, Garrett, like they're just so cool. And the fact that they were able to just cut off drinking when it was such a vital part of their life and their career, they're both bartenders. It's just so cool to see. Just like, man, like if you guys can do it, I mean, you had a career in it and you were like heavily addicted to alcohol and you're able to do it. It just gives a lot of hope for a lot of people too, because there is the addiction element to it. It's not just like it's fun and we like to do it. It's also, there's an addictive quality to it, you know? And it's just one of those things where it's like it plagues a lot of people, and it's just like any other addiction, man. Like alcohol is like one of those ones that actually you can't, if you're deep enough in it, you can't even quit cold turkey. You can't, you'll die if you do that. So it's just one of those crazy things in our society that we'll probably look back in 100 years and be like, people used to drink poison for like thousands of years.
Yeah.
And have fun with that.
Actually, what I think is going to happen is AI is going to unfold it in a way where we can still get drunk without the negative effects. I really think we're going to create alcohol that like it'll literally like filter out the bad effects instantly or whatever. Like, or maybe it doesn't, like there's multiple rates. I'm a problem solver, a creative problem solver. It's where I excel at, where I'm thinking creatively, and like, maybe it doesn't even have to like clean out the things. Maybe we just take a pill and it just heals our body, you know, like, like, I don't know. Like, so I think we're going to get to a point where we're going to be able to, because obviously maybe there are some people that like to get faced and bleep that. And then, but, yeah, I don't know, like no, I don't think anyone likes to get like shit faced. Like, maybe there are some people, but like most people just like the buzz. Most people like the way it makes them feel. Most people likes the relief that it gives them. And I think we'll probably develop some kind of alcohol that does that without the
some
negative
sense
effects.
of euphoria.
Yeah, I don't know. Like maybe that's a pipe dream. I don't know, but like who knows with what's going on in the world with AI, and like we literally went from only having 2,000 proteins identified, meaning like the proteins, like we can unfold them and like we can figure out like the exact shape, to AI from 2019. Within 2 years, we have over 200 million proteins identified because of AI.
That's
like,
crazy.
It's insane. Like that allows us to do so much. Like it's actually a major, like it's a mind-blowing development.
We didn't even know about any microbiome or anything until 100 years ago, which is, again, like Lou Elizondo, you know, I listen to that guy like crazy. He is another biologist, and he was talking about like how that's actually the dominant species on the planet. If you
Biologist?
Lou Elizondo was a biologist.
No, biologists are the dominant species?
No, microbiome, like microisms, organisms.
Yeah, bacteria is the dominant
Bacteria.
species. Yeah,
And we didn't even discover that until like 100 years ago.
Yeah.
It's like this whole planet. That's like literally one giant freaking bacteria if you think about it. And
if you said that to someone, you were woo woo. Like you were woo woo. There's little like I have gangrene because of little tiny things I can't see that are invisible. Get out of here, you cuckoo.
I know this is crazy, but I definitely think there's the similarity of like that and like paranormal and like this alien stuff. That I feel like it's just probably just beyond our understanding, just like how bacteria was over like 100 years ago. I think it's very similar to like a lot of this paranormal stuff. It's just something that's beyond our understanding so far. That's okay. We're not that old of a species.
Not at all.
I think the truth lies in there. It's just like, oh, okay. Like whatever it is, it's beyond our understanding at this point. Yeah, I just think it's super interesting, you know, and AI is going to change everything. I'm in marketing. You're in marketing. You're in video. You're in studying all AI stuff as well. We've in our business have already we were able to cut back on some of our video editors just because of AI very quickly last year. And this is just literally the tip of the iceberg.
Actually, to be honest, for my career, probably one of those writing on the walls kind of things, because within possibly even just 2 years, someone like you or someone like any of my clients that I've ever had will literally just be able to film a video and put a prompt, and we'll be able to edit the whole thing, and they won't need me. Right. And that's kind of shitty in some ways, you know, which is why I'm getting into engineering and I'm going to build robots instead.
Yeah,
so it's like I'm trying to get ahead of it. Actually,
it's really interesting. Yeah. It really is, and I think that like, and we've talked about this, but like the art of prompting is a freaking skill, because like even like with Danielle, like she'll ask me to like prompt AI for her because she just doesn't know how to talk to it like I do. There's a skill to that, especially with the advanced voice model.
Well, there's a skill to Googling too when it first came out. Like I remember, like my mom would literally put in like so many descriptive words. It's like, that's not how you Google, which is crazy now because that's exactly how you GPT though. Yeah. It's like the opposite, but it's like mom, no, it's not going to understand that. You got to be more broad or whatever. Like, you know, it's like, and then like, there was a skill to even asking Google questions back in the day. And so it's like, there's a skill, but I think it will be normalized, and I think it'll be, you know, just like walking for most people, like eventually.
100%.
Yeah.
But until then, there's a hired skill set for that.
Yeah.
For people who know how to do that
Yeah.
so effortlessly, because we have
Yeah.
the reps already in there.
But
And
also,
most people don't have the reps.
the AI is getting smarter too, and there's something called one-shot prompting, which means like you literally just have to say one question, edit this video for me or whatever, you know, and it will figure out all the steps in between, and you don't have to prompt engineer it because it's already learned how to prompt engineer itself.
That's cool.
And so it's like we're getting to that one shot is what they call it in the AI world, one shot prompting, and with AI agents coming in play, like we're so early, and I want to be ahead of that. I love it. Like, to be honest, you know, it's like I love all of it. Like I'm not a video editor. I'm a creator. I'm an inventor. Like I'm a person that likes to do. So it's like if editing goes away, it's not an issue for me because I like to do. Like I made this really cool music video I found out with the pro version of ChatGPT, not the pro, the plus version. The plus version, which is the $20 a month version, you actually get 500 videos with Sora. I didn't know it was that much because I never looked it up. I was like, you probably only get like a few videos. You probably get like 50 videos a week or a month. And you actually get 500 videos a month. And as soon as I found that out, last week, I should have been doing other things. And I spent 3 or 4 hours creating this music video about a war between octopuses and raccoons. It's a story that me and my friend have been working on for several years, actually. And so I turned that story into a song. And so I created the song, and then I also generated the song, and then I also made the clips that went with it. It's got a raccoon playing the piano. It's really cool. But spent 3 hours doing that. I had to stop myself because it was like 1 a.m., 2 a.m. I was like, I'm so enthralled in this. I get so like passionate, like when I'm in the moment for like creative projects. I could have spent another 6 hours working on this thing, and because the music video is not done yet, but like I realized I had to stop because I can't be doing this right now. I have other things that I have other priorities, and so it's like I forgot why I brought that up, but like there's this music video that I'm working on. I'll put a clip actually. I'll put it right here, but I'm really proud of it. It's really fun to make, and like I'm creating with the skills that I know with prompting, you know, like getting the images just right and like understanding like the music. So for my animation reel that I had yesterday, there was a song that I had because it was a bunch of clips from my Instagram, but I edited it in a really powerful way. There was a song specifically on there that was written when like it literally got blocked with the copyright. Sometimes you get a copyright, like our last episode of this podcast, 2 episodes ago, we get a copyright, it still can stay up. Like only thing that will happen there is if that video blows up and gets monetized, that money won't go to us, unfortunately. But we'll just not do that in the future. But I was like, man, this is so good. I got like, screw it, I'm just gonna keep it in. But the copyrights that I got on this animation reel was blocked. It actually blocked it globally. So what I did is I found the name of the song. It was like an Instagram, like a song that Edgar would listen to. and I found the title of the song. I put it in GPT. I said, can you break down the elements of everything in this song? Tell me exactly what goes on. It went like dark, hardcore, hip hop, trap, 808s, all this stuff. Threw all those things in there. And then I was like, turn that into a prompt for Udio, which is a music generation thing. And so it turned it into a prompt, pasted it in there, and the song matched perfectly. It was the exact vibe and thing I wanted, but it wasn't copywritten. Like, and I didn't rip off the original song either. I just literally used words like 808s and like broke down the essence of the song into verbal words and then put it into the thing, made the song, and now I have it in my animation reel, and I didn't have to like try to find with a hope and a whim that something fits exactly how I wanted it to. And most likely not find it perfectly because I really was stuck on that vibe and that song.
Yeah, my medics, man. You used something that you liked and that worked, and then you made your own flavor of it, which is freaking cool as hell.
I inserted it in there, and I did it for 2 other songs because in that King of the Hill was also in there, the theme song. Because I have a time lapse of me like doing this, and like it was perfect. And so I literally had to generate. Instead of just like breaking down the essence of the song, I said generate a song, this is actually probably where it starts crossing the line. I said, generate a song that is like the King of the Hill theme song.
Well, they have that.
And it generated something cool, but it still wasn't the vibe. So I just ended up extending one of the other things that I did. But yeah,
Why do you think that we're so? This is tough, definitely a vibe because I've had friends from Europe and from Asia and stuff like that for sure. And I'm not saying it, they're not or anything like this, but there is something that's weird and interesting about the American like ambition and innovation and like this drive to create something.
yeah.
Where do you think that comes from? Do you think like a lot of folks say like, hey, we're essentially the descendants of people who were, fighting for their lives through, Native American Spaniards, that people who, essentially settled this country, and then fought off a foreign entity to take this country and make it our own territory and our own thing. But yeah, maybe, but for whatever reason, it's something with our culture that makes us so ambitious and innovative and wanting to create something new and strive and work so hard for all these different things that in most countries, some of my friends have been like, why do you guys work so hard? Like, why do you guys not just stop and enjoy your life? Which at times I'm like, they're right, but most of the time there's something about us. Like we're always in this rat race to create things new. Why do you think that is?
I think even Stephen Bartlett was talking about this on his podcast recently.
Oh, cool.
Where they were talking about the UK specific. No, yeah, he had the trigonometry guy on, I think, and they were talking about specifically how the UK has really decimated. Like it's actually like if you're a business owner, it's like, oh, why are you doing that? Almost like kind of thought, and is what they were saying. I don't know. I've never been there, but one reason why I think it's here, partially what you were saying is like, people who came here, people who traveled west when we were all east, it's like, because people who traveled west wasn't just white people. There was, former, like when after the Civil War, there were black people who were traveling west as well too. But then there's also the Native Americans that were also already here.
Yeah, for sure.
And there's I've been studying a lot of the West stuff recently, but I think that's just one aspect.
Yeah, the pioneers that went west. Yes.
Because this is where it also comes into it is the mind thing. You could almost say it's a mind virus. We have the American
mind virus,
ambition mind virus. It's like we have a few mind viruses, but like specifically with Elon Musk talking about like the mind virus that has happened. He's been vocal about that with a lot of the DEI stuff,
right?
But I think maybe even our ambition is a mind virus because that spreads. Like, because obviously, like if it was just from a specific type of person, then that would be genetic. But I think humans, the beautiful thing about humanity is we have the ability to be conscious. We have the ability to spread thoughts. Like that's our bread and butter, you could say. It's like, and I think maybe that's it. It's like it's as a nation, like everyone that grew up here has, like, to a certain extent over the last even just the last 100 years. You don't have to go back all the way to the 1800s or prior. Just the last 100 years with what's happened with World War II and everything that has unfolded because of our industriousness and because of the stuff that happened in World War II, like that also adds into it. It allowed us to be ahead of the curve in a lot of ways too, because you may not like it, but China's actually a lot like us too. And what do they say? Capitalism with communist tendencies or something like that. Like they're China's actually really a lot like America in a lot of ways.
Oh yeah.
And I think a lot of the views that we have of China is our own propaganda against us. It's like that we put on ourselves. Like we have a view of China that I think is propagandized, and it's interesting. It's a whole nother story though.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's a great point. I mean, yeah, we can have a conversation about that all day because I have a lot of thoughts on China for sure. But there is a lot of truth to that. I definitely agree with that for sure. I love a lot of the people from China too because they do have that same ambition.
My best friend's Chinese.
There's something to be said about winners and winners being ruthless though. And I think that you're right about that too. I think both U.S. and China are ruthless. Mm-hmm. And I mean, we're also winners, both countries are freaking winners.
It's interesting how that unfolds.
And so, yeah, it's interesting to see, like you said,
Tiananmen Square or whatever it is, we have things like that happen in America. There's like a whole city that got wiped out that we don't talk about.
Right.
Like it's the, I don't know. I'd have to pull that up to fact check that, but like I'm pretty sure there was something that happened where like we don't even know what we don't know. We don't know like how, the thing about history and the thing about humanity is we get better over time at covering things up. And you can see that through the progression of crime. Like criminals get better at hiding. They like, it's not that they go away, they just get better at hiding. Like, is the mafia the FBI now? Like, who knows? Like,
oh, for sure. I had a professor a long time ago. We were arguing about something that happened in history, and he's like, well, let me ask you a question. Who writes the history books, the winners or the losers?
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
the winners. And he's like, okay, then do you still believe what is history, what was written down? Because it was written through the eyes of the winners.
Well, if you get caught, everyone around you learns how to not get caught, you know?
Yeah.
They learn like, oh, they're tapping our phones, the FBI is, you know, the mob, and they learn that stuff. So they people are smart, you know, they evolve out of that. So I think we've, just like how AI is exponentially growing, we have been exponentially growing too. So it's like, from the thing, like you could look back in like the 20s, like the criminals back then, they would do the dumbest things that criminals today wouldn't do. Obviously we still have dumb criminals today, but like, I think we learn, and I think we learn how to hide things better. And I think we learn from the mistakes in the 60s. We learn from the mistakes in the 50s. Oh, if we let the public get too in on this, then it's going to cause some issues. So let's be nonchalant with it. I think NASA learned that lesson, actually. I think they got too big because they were like really publicizing, promoting. They had some really good marketers. There's a new movie out on Amazon, actually, where it's about the moon landing, and it says that it's real, but they simultaneously, like, it's got Channing Tatum and Scarlett Johansson in it. It's so fucking good. It's really, really good movie. But like Scarlett Johansson is this badass, like scammer, badass marketer, quote unquote scammer. But she's just really good at like tricking people. And so like they hired her to basically get NASA on the map so that they can get the funding for the moon missions. Because the first Apollo 1 blew up, and it was bad publicity because the astronauts, they didn't even get off the ground. They were testing, and 3 astronauts died on the first Apollo mission, and it wasn't even a mission yet. Like they were still preparing for the mission. So the whole NASA Apollo program was about to die. So in this movie, they hired Scarlett Johansson to really get good PR and like good marketing. It's
based on the true story too.
I think partially, like it's, you know,
okay, gotcha.
And well, the thing at the end of the movie is like NASA says we're going to put this all under wraps and no one's going to ever know your name to Scarlett Johansson. So that's where they able to tie it in creatively.
Gotcha. Very cool.
But like it's really cool because she basically like puts it on the map. So like none of the astronauts want to go on camera, so she hires actors as these astronauts, and she didn't tell them either. And so she puts them on camera talking to the press, and it's like this one guy, not Buzz Aldrin, but say a Buzz Aldrin type character. He's in NASA like headquarters. He's like, that's not me. And then like they got all pissed on her. She's like, you guys didn't want to go on camera. We got to get you out in the public. And it was just a really cool story of marketing.
It's a newer movie.
Yeah, it just came out like this month, like last week, something like that.
Oh, very cool.
It was really blending. I love when my passions come together in things because I love marketing, I love space, and it was just like all together in one. Basically, the director of NASA didn't know that Scarlett Johansson, on a separate location because of the FBI or CIA, whichever one it was, had her in this area. Like she literally put a 1-to-1 replica of what everything was supposed to go like. It was like I won't spoil anything, but yeah. Fly Me to the Moon, I think is what it's called.
Oh, that's a great name. That's awesome. Well, yeah, man, I think we should start closing things up. Is there any final thoughts for you on your end?
I think this has been good, man. Yeah. I knew every time like we do a one-on-one podcast, it's almost like we gotta watch ourselves because we could go on talking forever.
Oh yeah. I mean, I want that conversation piece of it.
Yeah, me too.
We got into some cool things. Never thought I would be getting into the Cowboys. You got me. I was like, I have to